Hi, Kristen. Great to begin. If you're watching this on a recording, we're just into January of 2020, so we're starting a new year. So welcome, Kristen.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. Happy New Decade. My name is Kristin Snowden. I'm a licensed therapist in the state of California, but this is not therapy. This is just part of the website sexandrelationshiphealing.com. It's a live webinar, and the subject matter that I tend to cover is general relationship information. So if you're struggling in your relationship, I'm trying to give people language to understand what exactly might be going on for them, start putting words to their struggles, words to their confusion. And today we're going to be talking about a subject that I've talked about several times before, but it's always one of my most commonly searched videos on my YouTube channel. So I think this subject really resonates with everyone. So I just want to get into the weeds on it a little bit more, which is betrayal trauma and how important it is to find the right support around you after you've experienced betrayal trauma. So I think if you've seen my videos before, or if you watch any other podcasts or videos on sexandrelationshiphealing.com, you already know probably from your own personal experiences that being betrayed from a trusted loved one can be one of the most destructive and debilitating experiences in your life. But the term betrayal trauma refers to the mental, physical, and emotional damage that's done when you experience betrayal by a trusted loved one. And this can be done in various ways. So it can be done if there's a lot of emotional abuse, so someone constantly putting you down. It can be done if there's physical abuse, physical threat of physical abuse. It can also be through threats of, withholding love, withholding finances, threats to leave, threats of abandonment. Infidelity. And so when we're talking about infidelity, it can be a single infidelity, so a one-night stand. It can be a longer term infidelity, where it's long-term affairs or multiple times where you caught the person using pornography or engaging in extramarital affairs. Something that's more chronic and pathological, like sex addiction, and also any type of addiction. So oftentimes, I know many clients who are alcoholics or substance abusers, but they are regularly leading a double life, trying to cover up and hide their substance use. That also, it goes for gambling or unhealthy spending behaviors, etc. So anytime there's emotional, physical abuse, infidelity, lies, manipulation, addiction, you will often experience betrayal trauma. And what happens is that it basically destroys the trust, the safety, and security of that relationship bond. But not only, the problem too with betrayal trauma is it doesn't just affect that relationship. So I may experience betrayal trauma from a spouse, but it never ends there. It will also, the destroyed sense of safety and trust and security will also bleed into every other relationship that I have. And it will also, if you read books like The Body Keeps Score, you realize that it infiltrates your physiology, your actual biology, and completely can wreak havoc on your nervous system, your immunity, and everything, and just destroy you internally as well. So one thing that I want you to understand about betrayal trauma is that it puts the betrayed partner in this completely upside down roller coaster quandary, where the person or one of the people that they've loved the most and have trusted the most is now the person that has harmed them the most. And that can be so deeply confusing on an internal, unconscious, like I can't even bring language to it, but I just have this constant feeling of this push and pull. Because, if you watch a lot of Dr. Rob's videos, you understand he talks a lot about this concept of pair bonding. And it's this idea that, look, there's nothing wrong with the fact that when you really care about someone and you're really connected to that person, that we have these things inside of us called mirror neurons, where we are regularly kind of in sync with that loved one, with that person that we're pair bonded with. And that's great. It can happen, as a parent, I can be pair bonded with my children, and my children don't have their prefrontal cortex like fully developed. So when they're lashing out and getting upset because they don't have executive functioning to kind of calm them down and manage their impulse control, I can be their regulation system. I can hug them. I can look them in the eye and I can calm their blood pressure down. That's a superpower of humans. But on the same token, when there's that pair bonding and suddenly that same person who's supposed to be that trusted, consistent loved one suddenly shows that they might as well be a bear who's ready to attack me and kill me and destroy everything that I thought my life was and everything that I wanted my life to be, it suddenly floods these two opposing feelings of safety and regulation and pair bonding and love with like the greatest threat, the greatest pain, the greatest feelings of unsafety that my body could experience. And so imagine a person in that state who has these extreme opposing neurological messages going on. And what happens is their physical presentation does not end up being that graceful, right? And so they're in this torturous, like emotional roller coaster where one second they want to reconcile, they want to believe everything that their partner's been saying to them, because, as they've been gaslighting them and lying to them and manipulating them and harming them. And so a part of them wants to reconcile and repair and hope this person can change. And then often in like the same millisecond, they're knocked down with these feelings of shame and fear and disgust and rage for how could you trust that person? And you're the pathetic one for even like putting yourself in this situation. Why don't you just run? And then it's multiplied when you have a ton of people around you that are like, oh, don't you realize what he or she's done to you? Just run. And so then there's these multi-layered feelings that come on that if you don't have trained clinicians who can help you properly put names to this, can educate you on this, and then it can also have this empathy and compassion for how you present yourself in that state, and that extreme mixed state of loving someone and being afraid of them at the same time, there can be more damage done than good. And so I want you to understand just the symptoms of betrayal trauma is often you lose confidence in your basic decision making. You question who you are, what your reality is. If this was a lie, then how much of the rest of my life or this relationship was a lie? Who am I? What's my purpose in life? Doubting everything. And of course, if this relationship is so dangerous and I loved this person and trusted this person, then I must choose really unhealthy people in my life. So is this support group around me actually trustworthy? Do these women mean well? Or these men mean well? Are they lying to me? And so it becomes this horrible funhouse of distorted mirrors where you just don't know what's reality and what is your brain playing tricks on you, right? Because you have this evidence that you thought that your partner loved you. You thought that he or she was telling you the truth. It was a ton of lies, maybe mixed in with some truth, but lots of lies and gaslighting. Where do I go from here? And there's a lot of shame, confusion, self-blame, emotional instability, depression, anxiety, and difficulty executing just the basic life functions. So I want you to understand that an untrained therapist, if someone walked in and was struggling with, getting out of bed, was struggling with managing his or her emotions. So 1 minute she's crying, then 1 minute she's screaming, then 1 minute she's begging the person to come back. And they don't understand the complexities and dynamics of betrayal trauma. they are going to probably want to pathologize and diagnose this person based on the symptoms that they're showing. So common, it is so common. I work in a treatment center, and I'll have people that will come in and they'll kind of want to give them the diagnosis of, oh, like histrionic, borderline, bipolar, or maybe some will literally have bipolar diagnosis, but think that it's because their medication hasn't been managed or they're in a full manic state or whatever. But really, when you get down to their most recent history, their most recent situation, it's often stemmed from this betrayal, from this spiraling out of control, their physiological struggles with it, their emotional and mental struggles with it, and then again, the relational struggles, right? So why would I trust anybody when this has happened to me? So I'm really hope that you're understanding that the average friend, the average loved one, the average clinician, therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist can be there for you with the best intentions. But if they really, truly don't understand what's going on here, if they don't know the right answers, the right questions to ask, and then also understanding what that means, a lot of damage can be done. Because remember, you're already in a state of distrust. You're already in a state of dysregulation. You're already in a state of kind of desperately wanting to trust somebody. But then they might be like, oh, you're sitting and trying to do couples counseling. Imagine you as a betrayed partner with all that this dysregulation going on. And you're sitting with a partner who, by the way, this is also an issue, is juxtaposed next to the betrayed partner, the partner who might be cheating or have the addiction or has been kind of lying and manipulating. Oftentimes those types of people are much better at compartmentalizing what's going on. So they have personality traits that let them kind of take, yeah, I was just having sex with another woman last night, but I'm going to go ahead and take that and stick it up in the cupboard. And so when I show up to my home and like eat breakfast with my children and wife, I don't really show that in my demeanor outside. I don't really show it on the outside. So of course you take a person like that who can compartmentalize, who can have done all these things and said all these things, but kind of package it and put it away and not be connected to it. Because by the way, that's part of recovery, is helping someone actually connect to all the stuff that they've shoved into their basement and have them really, truly take it on. So having someone like that show up into a couple's room, and then having that other person who's the betrayed partner who's in a complete dysregulated state. Imagine if you're a human, untrained clinician, who would you start thinking is the problem, right? And this is the tragedy of the best intended therapist kind of causing more problems and hurting the process rather than treating it. Because you, as a human, oftentimes when you see the person showing up extremely dysregulated, extremely frantic, running from all these different scenarios, hating the person, not wanting to have sex with them, wanting to kick them out, but then wanting to call them and have them back in their life, that level of dysregulation coming into the room can often dysregulate you as another human watching it. And so you kind of want to pathologize it. You kind of want to put them as the identified patient, because the other person, the person doing the lying, the manipulating, the addictive behaviors, is kind of like the calm, like sitting in the room. So I just really want you to understand those dynamics when you're looking for support. When you feel like therapists are kind of coming at you and making these surfacey kind of comments like, this is another really important point, is you have to understand that despite whatever you're coming in as a betrayed partner, so maybe you do have a rage issue in this moment. So maybe, one of the things that you have to work on is helping to regulate your own body, your own blood pressure, because you can no longer count on your partner at this time to help you with that. And maybe in those moments you throw things, you scream, you say names, you make threats yourself. even if that is the case, something that has to be, yes, that's something that you need to do to keep your side of the street clean. But something that you need to remember all the time is that if it were not for the original betrayal, if it were not for your partner's behaviors, throwing this relational bond into complete crisis, then you wouldn't be struggling with these particular issues. So what I'm trying to say by that is sometimes when we go into couples therapy in this crisis state, you might get labeled with a couple things that you have a rage issue, you have a I don't know, a dysregulation issue, you have an issue being close to partners, maybe you have an intimacy issue, right? Because you can imagine if someone's hurt you so many times, you'll have this huge wall up because it's like, I'm not going to let you hurt me anymore. And so therapists might try to say, oh, you know, you need to learn how to have vulnerable, intimate connection. But you have to understand that as long as you feel like you have that bear in the room with you, ready to, you know, rip you to shreds, metaphorically speaking, the bear being the person who's betrayed you and harmed you, all these issues are going to still be present. So you could do all the exercises you want, all the neurological regulation that you know are asked to do, but as long as you still have that threat, as long as that person is not in recovery, as long as they are still lying, as long as they are still not owning what they've done and kind of showing and expressing that they're a different changed person, it's going to be really hard for you to show progress in those areas. I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's just, it's something to kind of help you release some of the blame and shame that often happens when you're a betrayed partner. So let me see if there's anything else that I want to say. I just want to close with just saying that betrayed partners and therapists have to understand that a betrayed partner's emotional volatility is not reflective of some kind of emotional or psychological issue within that betrayed partner. It's a normal and expected symptom of the relationship betrayal, and is the same as any kind of deep trauma that someone else might go through. So if someone is raped, or if someone escapes a very serious car accident or a very serious, natural disaster, and they come into the room extremely dysregulated, scared, not wanting to go back to their house, struggling with sleeping and eating, you wouldn't say, oh, wow, you just have chronic depression and you maybe need to go check into a psychiatric facility because you're so dysregulated, right? No, you go, oh, this poor person has been through this extremely traumatizing experience, and their neurology is just completely thrown upside down. And we tend to have a lot more compassion for people who have these kind of obvious external concrete traumas that have happened to them. But in terms of relational betrayal trauma, sometimes it can be so insidious and so intangible that it's hard for us. Like we can't, and they don't even have the language to say it. Like, don't you realize every morning I've woken up and my wife says that she's going to go do this activity, but really she's just been going to a bar and drinking herself to death and then tries to drive my child drunk home from school. Like they don't always have that connection to articulate, because if they said that in a therapy office, well, then the therapist would be like, oh yeah, of course, completely unacceptable. How dare you? But sometimes all they just know is like, all I know is I wake up and my wife says she's doing this. And then I come home and from work after a really long day, and I don't know why my wife hasn't returned my text messages. All I know is I've gotten like scared text messages from my daughter who says that my wife is acting erratically. And what is happening? So again, like I said, that's just an example to show that a trained clinician can usually say, okay, that doesn't make sense. And I know she has a history of drinking. That sounds a little interesting. Let's ask the right questions to start filling in the gap, because something I've learned from the job that I do, if pieces don't if pieces don't fit together, there's something I'm missing, and I need to start getting down into the weeds and get really into what's really going on. So I think that's about it. And I welcome any of your questions about betrayal trauma or anything else.
Well, I wanted to tie in a couple of things too, and I 100% agree. And I often get the messages from the betrayed partners who've gone to well-meaning therapists who have, said that you're part of the problem. Somebody talked about they were told to reflect back, and the addict was like, "You need to have sex with me more," and so the partner had to say, "I need to have, I hear you saying I need to have sex with you more." And the therapist was missing that this was like you're saying, this is the bear in the room, with the claws out, who's been hibernating all year or all winter and is hungry, so
Right.
really unsafe. You talked about the body keeps score. So many partners have physical manifestations, that they're experiencing physical symptoms from the trauma and the crisis that they endure, and it's chronic. It's
Right.
chronic symptoms. So getting help for the physical is only treating the symptoms. Getting to the root of the issues, and getting the support is really necessary, with anybody, and I do give a lot of referrals, and I don't know a lot of, I don't know every single therapist. I always suggest, I think I always suggest, but, I'm hopeful that, that when people are looking for support, they're asking about, is the therapist coming at it from a codependent standpoint? It's a newer term, but they should be aware of that. And
Right.
it's an opportunity for clients to say, here's a website, you can learn more, to have them reach out. But the other thing you talked about is, the average friend and loved one has good intentions, but they also have their biases. If that person didn't want you to marry that guy in the first place or whatever,
Right.
then they're looking to add on, or they really have your safety, in mind. They really do care about you, and you're saying that this person's hurting you, well, get rid of that person. Not understanding, connecting the dots, that you have a history, you see, even though this person is broken, that you still, like you said, you're caught in between of, I love this person and they're not safe. And so these very diabolically different things, and both are true, and how do you put those together? And I've been around long enough that I know our minds are always trying to connect those dots and make it be okay. And so if this person says this, well then, it's very challenging in getting the support. And you're right, the addicts are very compartmentalized and manipulative, and can come off as the all put together, in our treatment program and
Can
seeking.
minimize, like,
Yes.
what are
Oh, yeah.
you, I
Minimize
don't
all the time.
understand.
Yeah. In Seeking Integrity Los Angeles treatment program, we often get clients who don't really think they have a problem. They're often coming because their partner or spouse is not happy, threatening action or whatever, but
Right.
they're still in the, I've only had a few affairs, or I'm
Right.
only whatever, and not understanding the level of betrayal. I love Dr. Rob just did a group with the guys that were in residence on codependence, and he hadn't done that before, but they got, I think, on a very deep level, the level of hurt that they have caused their loved ones, but also that loved one has understood that they're broken and stuck around, like
Right.
they still stuck around. So I think it's really, an important thing. The other thing I think therapists can do is unintentionally, but it can be justification for the addict. Look how she is. Just using female partner, but look how she is. Of course, I'm, having an affair because,
Totally.
yeah. So very hurtful, very, very hurtful for partners. So, and there isn't perfect help, but we're sure working on, creating a path where we have these resources. I had someone that reached out from another country this morning. We've got a betrayed partner drop-in group today. And I was like, I think it'll fit your time zone if you can join that. So we do want, we want to connect people and in a codependent manner. And, the drop-in groups are monitored so that they can get support. So, but we've got some questions, so we'll turn to those. I have listened to many podcasts of Dr. Robin. He said when a client is in crisis, it's not the time to explore their childhood. They need support, validation, and guidance. I had a bad experience with a therapist from Seeking Integrity. We don't have, so we're gonna have to, we don't have any therapists other than the ones that are working with our clients. So who convinced me that they were highly trained. After only one session online, I got worse and went into crisis till the point I did something to harm me. Well, there goes my already mistrust for looking for help. I am so sorry that continued to spiral. I do get asked for a lot of referrals, and I do my best to give qualified resources. We do not have any therapists other than the ones that are working with the guys in residence. So we don't have anybody who's working with partners. I do make referrals, and if you had a bad experience with someone I referred to, A, I apologize, but B, please email me, because, I like to know about that, because obviously I don't want to continue referring to people that aren't necessarily a good fit. This is very limited information, so hopefully you're also joining the Betrayed Partner drop-in groups and getting support there. But I would invite you to email me so I can get more information. Any thoughts, Kristin?
No, I mean, just as I might be referred a client, so I'm not a part of Seeking Integrity, but I definitely work. So I'm assuming it's a referral like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with Dr. Rob. Again, if you took the same thing that you're going through and again, gave it a different reference point, like I just got in this horrendous car accident, I just survived a horrendous earthquake, and you're sitting shaking in a therapist's office with this situation. In those moments is not when you go, hey, so, tell me about your family of origin, tell me about your childhood, right? The same thing with betrayed partners, healing from a car accident, healing from something else very traumatizing, is all the same, which is the initial treatment goal should be helping that person feel safe again. Right. And that's regardless of their family of origin. It's regardless of how many times they were having sex with their partner. It's regardless of all those details. Sure, there might be a time and a place where that needs to be discussed and explored. Right. But it's about figuring out for this particular person's situation and the people around them and what's going on, how do I help this person feel safe again? And how do I help this person feel safe in this room and in this relationship? Because this relationship, meaning a therapist and client relationship, can hopefully become kind of a surrogate regulation system, right? So I always hope to be that kind of grounding. You can be dysregulated, you can be crying and screaming, and you can be upset. And I try to just say, this is extremely normal. This is exactly what other people who have gone through these kind of things go through, and then just kind of try to process that and figure out how to help you feel safe.
Yeah, and many people don't leave the situation for many reasons, and that person is never going to get into recovery. So they have to find ways to create healthy boundaries for themselves, so they can create that safety, that wall of safety around them. They'll have some safe people, like a qualified therapist, or a support group, or whatever it is, that can be the safe touchstone for them, along the way. The podcast, I hear lots of people talking about how valuable the podcasts are, and that they start their day every day with those, or whatever, or whenever, they're feeling a little dysregulated, they put another one in. Same with these YouTube webinars and things. I hear that regularly, that these resources are becoming a calming, safe spot, for
Right.
people to land, and help in the moment if there's not a live person, but they can connect with those. So
I personally do that too. I listen to Dr. Rob's podcast because I never want to be complacent with the stories that I hear. I never want to forget these details, that someone might come into my office seeming completely dysregulated, completely 1 minute loves me as a therapist and then hates me and despises me as a therapist, and I want to like pathologize or diagnose that. But I always want to have that in my head, that imagine if the person that you love the most has harmed you the most, and how much that would dysregulate you and throw you off and turn you upside down. And so I never want to lose sight of that.
Absolutely. And whether it's the addict or the partner, I want to be, a listening voice and hopefully provide, some qualified resources for them. So.
Mm-hmm.
So the next one is, because I was so dysregulated, a therapist labeled me as abusive, even though my husband was gaslighting me right in front of her. That happens. I not necessarily the abusive, but I often hear that, unfortunately, like you talked about, Kristin, that if the addict is showing up and is all, compartmentalized and put together, and manipulative and charming and whatever else they are, that then the therapist is like, well, of course. But that ends up being part of it. So that's why, to Kristin's point, having someone who really understands betrayal trauma is important. So I feel like my spouse chronic invalidates me, and he has a talent to make me feel bad about myself till the point I am crushed, sometimes by not even saying anything. He knows how to play emotional mind games, so I have many toxic negative feelings in the moment or after I spoke or saw him, even days after. What is happening here? Are these subconscious emotions?
Yeah, well, it goes back to what I was talking about the pair bonding, right? So when you're deeply pair bonded, connected with someone in your life, they have the ability to calm you and regulate you and, set off all these feel good hormones in your body. Or conversely, they have the ability to shoot your blood pressure up, throw you into a spiral. And then on top of it, because you have a trauma history, I'm assuming, you also can quickly start going through those shame voices of, this is proof that I'm unloved. This is proof that I'm going to be abandoned. And those can be a lot of unconscious, deep, dark emotions, and then neurological sensations and hormones that happen as a consequence that can throw you in a all day, all week, all month, all year long dark hole. And so I think it's always really important to identify them. So one of my favorite exercises is when I feel myself in a dark place after an engagement with somebody. I really dig deep to say, like, what's the story that I'm telling myself right now? When he or she said that to me, I hear, this is too much. Who's going to love you? I don't want you, right? And so I really try to get in touch with that. Depending on if that person is safe to have this conversation with, I usually have that conversation with them. So I try to say, hey, when you made that comment to me about, the shirt that I was wearing, looking frumpy on me, the story that I told myself is that you're not attracted to me and you don't love me or want to have sex with me. I just made that up right now. Or that you're going to go out and have sex with somebody else because you find me unattractive. Then, and again, that's obviously assuming that you guys are at a high enough frequency and communication level that you can actually go at this. Probably at this stage, if you're watching these videos, you're not at that relationship level. That's a goal. That's like relationship goals later, that you can kind of rumble with those really dark voices and those really deep shame voices and connect with what you're feeling. At this time, the best thing might be being able to take that into a therapy office, or calling a friend who can help you sit and process and not judge it or try to solve it, but just say, wow, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm feeling. Because oftentimes, you hear these dark shame voices and then you speak them out and you get it to your executive functioning level of your brain, your rational brain, and you start sorting out and vetting, is this really, what's the evidence of this? Is this accurate? Is that exactly what he or she said to me, or is this the story that I'm telling myself? And then there's also the webinar I just did last month that I still haven't put up on my channel yet, sorry, is these various regulation systems. So the idea is that what I encourage clients to do is, right now, when the bear's in the kitchen, meaning you're with a partner, you're staying with them, they're not in recovery yet, or maybe they're doing just enough. I have so many clients where their partners are doing just enough to like keep the relationship going, but they're not truly in recovery yet. So they're not really changed. So they still feel very unsafe to them. Is like, hey, you're not going to be able, if you're counting on this partner right now to co-regulate you, to help you feel safe, to help calm you, you're not going to be getting that from this person. So right now, so let's figure out other ways to kind of regulate that neurobiology of yours. Let's do some deep breathing exercises. Let's doing some resourcing. Let's do some yoga. Let's do some, finding some other safe and healthy friends to engage with who can be calming sources. I have clients who go seek out equine therapy. They find horses to be very therapeutic for them, their dogs, etc. These are all other kind of almost surrogates that you can use to calm you, return your sense of value and worth and connection when your partner's not going to be that source.
Yeah. And, all of those things. And I'm not sure if if their husband is in recovery or not. If they are in recovery, they must be in very early recovery, because, those are specific behaviors, like at Seeking Integrity Los Angeles, we're teaching the guys how to learn to have empathy. It's not something they know how to do. They have virtually none. So it's something that they didn't grow up knowing how to do, and we help them learn to do that. Like that lecture that I talked about, when they're going, oh, this person actually loves me, and they stuck through even though like I've been, crazy. Yes, and Dr. Rob talks about on the podcast and on the webinars that learning to find those things, outside and all of that. But honestly, this feels, I'm sorry that the first therapy thing was not a good fit, but I would encourage you, like that's just like going on, well, it's not just like, I'm going to use I was going to say, that's like going and trying the shoes and the shoes didn't fit. So that's a little minimizing, but honestly, to getting the right help, I have a therapist. I haven't had to see her in a while, but like, I know she's there, but I was struggling with something and I went and saw her, and like, I don't struggle with that anymore. That issue isn't an issue. And I've been in therapy on and off for a long time, but like getting the right help, transformative, so I would encourage you not to give up. If you don't think I'm a valid source for, getting a referral, ask somebody in one of the groups. They may have something, but otherwise, if I will give you a longer list and you can explore. So the next one, so I'm writing because they started attending some of the drop-in groups. That's great. I would like to share my experience. I don't have people to share with. That's the point of the drop-in groups and these places. Her husband is involved in a specific kind of porn, transgender, and is attracted to them. I am more offended than by regular porn. And I'm just going to stop here for a second. There are so many different types of porn. So when people say, oh, he looks at porn or she looks at porn, like there's elder erotica, there's underage. I mean, there's, the MILF. I mean, like there is so much stuff. So I understand that you could have a sensitivity towards, a particular type of porn, but it's mind-boggling. I'm sure I don't even know all of them. I can't even think of them, but there's porn for everything. My husband is involved in that, and I want to express myself freely and openly in the groups, but I believe that there may be transgender women in the groups. If this is so, how do I be open about my feelings? Well, okay, so my thought is if he was looking at regular porn with just women, would you be afraid to say something? I mean, I think it's one of those, I think you can share. I think you can say, that's the point of the group, as long as you're not being nasty, snarky, derogative towards that. I think sharing that if he was watching porn with men, like, I mean, I think it's just one of those things we want those to be safe places where you can go and you can talk about, what's bothering you. And as long as you're doing it in a regulated manner and you're not attacking someone else, I think it should be a safe place. If you have questions or concerns, email me outside of this. I'd be happy to talk to you. But we do not have a group for transgender women. I don't even know if, we have a small gay men's group. It's very small. So I don't even know who would show up that would be a transgender woman who has a sex addiction or is a betrayed partner. I mean, that's what we have groups for. So, so hopefully that's helpful for you. Any thoughts on that, Kristin?
No, other than I think it can be, I think it's sometimes a blessing to have someone in that group that is kind of a person that symbolizes something that is very offensive to you, because having that person kind of in your face, so to speak, causes you to need to probably pause and say, okay, what exactly about this type of pornography or this type of person or demographic is so offensive? What are the elements about it? Is it, and I mean, I could go on with a list of assumptions of why one finds it more offensive than just the general vanilla porn, so to speak. And so I always think sometimes groups can be quite powerful because it forces you to think about and take pause and have stuff put in your face that you might have not necessarily had. Like if you just taken this issue to a therapist and you're doing an individual session, you wouldn't have been faced with all this hesitation and resistance to truly speak and kind of free flow about how offended you are that your partner's watching this type of porn. This has caused you clearly to kind of be like, I don't know if I can say this. There's so many things that I want to say and I want to be able to speak freely. So I'd really encourage you to kind of get in touch with that about what exactly is, what is the resistance? What are the words that you're saying that you think would not be received well, and why? And are there maybe more words underneath that you need to be getting at, about gender, sexual orientation exploration, or other fears about that type of person or your part? I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking the underneath too. So, I think that's great stuff to explore with your therapist too, is what's underneath, the offended, on that. Not saying you shouldn't be offended, but I'm just, exploring why that's causing so much energy, could be really valuable for you as well.
And there's nothing wrong with being offended, finding one type of porn to be okay, and then finding another subset to be just completely unacceptable, or you find yourself to be spun out even more about this. I mean, usually, again, it all comes back to safety, and there's obviously people in this situation, scenarios, framework that you put your spouse in who is seeking this stuff out. All of that is really important information to kind of dig out and better understand. So I hope you do find a place where you can freely kind of explore and talk about that.
So the next comment is, oh my God, the woman said what my husband does. He can look at me and I get dysregulated. That's the one thing he does that I don't know how to combat. He normally does the look energy transfer in public, so I don't have a safe place to go. And how, that's just so unfair.
Yeah. This is obviously not done in one session, but I completely empathize with the power of someone else being able to dysregulate you. And it can feel very discouraging and frustrating, and like you're constantly a victim. But I would definitely be exploring, and again, I haven't posted that other video, but ways to try to kind of, I'm going to use lots of like hippie therapy terms, but like recenter yourself and ground yourself in spite of his stuff. Because there still has to be an appreciation. I don't know your situation about if your partner is an addict and not in recovery and all that. And Tammy was talking about that. But the fact of no matter what his path is, no matter what his choices, his behavior, his interpretation, his perspective of you, it has no bearing on your value and your worth and the fact that you deserve to feel safe, you deserve to be loved, and you got to really try to focus in. I know that's easier said than done, but find like happy places there in those moments.
So a continuation, is it possible that my partner cannot handle when I feel good, so has to bring me down on purpose because of his shame?
Partner cannot handle when I feel good. So I don't know, but that's one of those perfect examples that what I said in one of my exercises is the story that I tell myself. And so let's say you're having a good day, you're smiling, you're making good contact, things seem to be positive in that day. Maybe your partner seems like he's changing, you're reconnecting, and then all of a sudden he makes kind of this dig comment about, I don't know, the way you parent or the way you're dressing, who knows, that really throws you into like a shame spiral. You can pause. I mean, because you feel uncomfortable enough with it that your body is telling you that something bad just happened and you don't like it. And you kind of dig and say, I was feeling really great today. But then when you made that comment or you made that dig, the story I'm telling myself is that you want to stay in a state of turmoil with me. You want to pick a fight because you're not okay with it being calm and harmonious between us. Is that true? Something like that, where you don't talk about the content of like what's happening in the room. You talk about the context of the big picture of what's going on for you. I feel like every time we have a really great day, you kind of have to like spin it out, and he may not actually know or realize that he's doing it. But then that gives him something that he can sit and process and explore. And that's how relationships slowly start changing the system, is we do these things so unconsciously, kind of like with our head down in a default state, and it's not pretty. And then all of a sudden someone calls us out, whether it's a therapist or a partner or a friend, that kind of wakes us up and we go, did I do that? Just as an example, my husband commented the other day that he said this thing and I made like a smirk. And he's like, it's really making me angry that you make that face at me when I say something. And I'd like not even realize that I was doing it. I completely own that I'm capable of it because I have a sarcastic like piece in me, but my intentions were not to make him feel unsafe. I felt bad that I was making it, and it kind of woke me up to say like, be aware of your body language, Kristin. I don't take shame in it. I'm not a bad, horrible person that he gave me that opportunity for growth. But it's like, it wakes me up to say, okay, yeah, I could see myself doing that. And sorry, that would bug me too. Mm-hmm. All right, move on.
But because you want to work on a good relationship,
right.
You weren't defended going, well, if you didn't, or, I didn't do this or whatever, you didn't minimize, you took it in. And you were able to go, okay, I'm going to work on that one. So, my concern is, depending on where this person's, partner is in recovery or not, that yes, try to have those context conversations, not in the heat of the moment. But if they are unable to take it in. You talk about the shame. One of the things about recovery is you break through that shame. That's, again, one of the key things we do in Seeking Integrity Los Angeles is work on getting through that shame so that they have a foundation on which to build. So if your partner is not working with a qualified therapist and really getting underneath that shame, Kristin's done some great videos, so check those out too, on shame and how useless it is. Guilt is good, can be helpful, but shame is pointless. So it's one of those things where hanging on to shame is isn't going to be helpful. So hopefully he's
And it
doing
is insidious and subconscious. So you're absolutely right. Things like that can happen and they don't even realize they're doing it. So bringing it to their attention by bringing it in the room can be quite powerful.
Yeah.
Superpower.
Yes. So, okay. So the next one, my wife continues to give me deadlines to complete recovery. Okay. I almost laughed. To complete recovery. Decades, and I'm not completed. So like there is no, I'm just going to say there's no completion of recovery. Right. So all right. So my first sponsor in SA dropped me because of dependency issues. Okay. I've talked with her using AVR to explain that I have to do this for the right reasons and not to beat the clock. My therapist pointed out that she is mind sweeping everything, looking for lies, problems, and expectations that I have conditioned her over the past 5 years. Can I do anything to help reduce her negative thinking? I feel it's limiting our potential, and if course keeps herself safe by putting on her armor. Oh my gosh, I have so much to say about this one.
Right?
Okay. All right. So she, of course, is looking for safety. She's looking for you to do what you're supposed to do. So in Dr. Rob's book, Out of the Doghouse, it's like, if you say you're going to take out the trash, take out the trash. And it's not a timeline, but I'm in recovery. Okay, I'm taking a breath. The people that hang out and take forever to do the steps, you can tell how I feel about this. Like, why? The old, there was a way of doing it where you go through the steps like fast and then you redo it. You just keep doing it. That it's living the steps, but hanging on to this stuff, like it's torture. You lost a sponsor for some, so now you're asking your wife to feel okay, even though things aren't really changing. So I'm kind of in the, get on with it. What are you doing to actively work on your recovery? What step are you on? Do you have your 3-circle plan? Where are you at with things? And if you are not, I'm a little bit not in line with the therapist pointing out that she's mind sweeping everything, looking for lies. Well, or maybe she is, but she's, Dr. Rob talks about it in his webinars. They're not looking for lies. They're looking for you they're looking to be able to trust you. So they're hoping not to find lies. But if you're not building that foundation of safety and of trust, then she's still going to find lies. So it isn't about beating the clock, and you do have to do it for yourself on some level, but I'm in the get on with it. And if you need a higher level of help, call me. Seeking Integrity Los Angeles can give you that platform, and we can give you a foundation, and you and your spouse, your wife, can both hopefully find it to be a life-changing process. So, okay, now I'll shut up, Kristin. Sorry. That was like...
No, it's okay. It's tough. I mean, the person in recovery doesn't have it easy either, right? They've been invested in keeping, that's good. He's step 4 and has circles and sobriety. And so let me speak to you. I mean, recovery ain't easy either. Like, I get it. Like, we're meaning the professionals are asking you to connect with all these terrible feelings that you've been highly invested in being disconnected from, connecting to the fact that you have to look at the damage that's been done, and step 8 and 9 is trying your best to make amends for it. I'm guessing too, often addicts are highly invested in kind of keeping everyone at arm's length. So just like maybe people in your life, but so keeping themselves kind of as invulnerable as they feel like they can make themselves. And we're asking you to take on all this risk of making promises that you don't know if you can follow through with, and connect with people, which is really scary. So, I mean, I understand. And also I always think of too, when we are asking people, meaning like a partner or therapist asking someone to go into recovery, is that we're taking someone's favorite go-to coping skill, right? That they've used all the time to manage everything, albeit it's destructive and it's hurtful and it's, not doing anything for their life in a positive way, but nonetheless, it's still their go-to coping skill. And we're asking them to toss it away forever. and obviously replace it with healthier ways of managing it. But I still can empathize, sympathize with the fact that that's tough work. But I think, again, same thing as I was talking to you about the woman that was struggling with speaking about her struggles with talking about female transgender porn, and paying attention to what she has going on in her body when she wants to say something and feeling this hesitation and resistance, is I'd really encourage you to pay attention to what's going on in your body when your wife says, hey, I need to, like, I want to see you meeting with your sponsor more regularly. I want you to go to 4 meetings a week, not 3 meetings a week. Why aren't you hanging out with these people in recovery? Why aren't you why? I mean, really what she's saying there is, I want to see a changed person. I want to feel safe again. I want to stop feeling like there's a bear in my kitchen, and I want my neurological system to finally just feel maybe like a normal human beings for once. And I don't want to be the one asking you to do all these things, because inside, when I'm asking you to do these things, the story I'm telling myself is, you're never going to really want this. You want to continue to act out. And I'm just pushing the time where you relapse and knock me back on the ground down a little bit more by me being the nag. Like, I'm begging you to want this for yourself, and to do this for yourself, and do this also as a symptom of loving me, loving our family, loving all these things, and fighting for us and fighting for your well-being. And I think that type of intimacy, that type of, I don't know, putting all that on the line, I think can be very overwhelming for someone. So I don't know if you've connected to all that. I see that you are already doing some really tough work. Step 4 is no joke. Writing up circle plans, defining your sobriety. That's no joke work. But I think she's also, I'm guessing, wants to see a changed you. Well, maybe you can comment on this more, Tammy, but there's these sections of the promises. It's page like 89 or something like that, or I can't remember, where it's saying that, like, look, when you finish these steps, this is what you can expect.
Halfway through. So, and which is, when you've done step 4 and 5, and then you start doing, your amends, you will reap the benefits of the promises, and they have all come true in my life. And, I won't, you can look them up. They're all out there, but you will start seeing changes. It's one of those things where, and I'm glad you're on step 4. I have seen people take a year to do step 4. Right. So my encouragement is, don't, do step 4. You can do it again. You
can always go back, because things keep coming up.
No. Well, things it's peeling an onion. You keep,
right.
Or you can do step 4 on a certain issue. You go, okay, I need to go do a step 4 on this issue. There's so many ways. But doing it and getting the benefits of it. You don't have to do it perfectly. You won't do it perfectly. That's why you get to keep coming back with stuff. But I had stuff that came up. I couldn't have even imagined it. The first step 4 I did, and then I did it. It's all good. These are living steps. That's why a little bit of the, complete recovery, heck no. I will continue to learn and grow. So I'm inviting you to look at this as a path. The thing to reduce her negative thinking is going to be you showing up, you becoming trustworthy, all of that stuff. If you have not read Out of the Doghouse, highly encourage you to do it. As Rob says, he makes 12 cents. But that can be very transformative for for couples, because it's about rebuilding trust, and you don't have to be at a certain step in the process to start rebuilding trust. You just start, if you say you're going to be home at 5 o'clock, you're home at 5 o'clock. If you're going to be home at 5:03, you're texting or calling and saying there was traffic at whatever, whatever. You do what you say, and you say what you mean. So, sorry, I am passionately in recovery. I always know when stuff starts tipping into the recovery stuff, I have energy about it, and I apologize if that offends people. I really don't mean to, but oh my gosh, this stuff saved my life. Right. And it's given me every healthy relationship in my life. I'm going to tear up because it is so meaningful and so grateful. And that's why, that's why I do what I do. Cause I want everybody to get, if I could, I always say, if I could wave a magic wand and you could see, my life is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but but you know, every day I am so grateful for what recovery has given me, because I had no chance, you know, on my own. And so hang out till the miracle happens. And I really hope that you continue to engage in recovery in a meaningful way, and you know, just do the next right thing. Just do the next right thing. It's, you know, and you're going to make progress on all of that. So thank you, Kristin. Thanks for starting off 2020. Here we go. So I'll keep coming back, everybody. I did put in the chat the link. You can find the previously recorded. So even if Kristin hasn't gotten it on her YouTube, we have, you know, we have it on the previously recorded webinars on our site, and all the other ones, you know, they're all in there. So Eddie Caparucci will be here next week. He's been doing a series, and it was on the inner child, and he's got them all labeled. Fascinating stuff. He's got a new book coming out. It was really interesting. So I'd invite you to participate, and Kristin will be back on the second week of February. So
Second Wednesday.
Wednesday, yes. Yeah, the second Wednesday. It's the new year. I got to get with the program. So, okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.